In a world filled with constant noise, opinions and expectations, protecting your energy becomes one of the most powerful decisions you can make for your personal growth and emotional stability. Every day, people interact with countless conversations, social media updates, criticism, and unnecessary comparisons that slowly drain their mental strength without them even realizing it. When you choose to focus only on yourself and remain silent about certain aspects of your life, you begin to guard something extremely valuable, your inner peace. Energy is limited, and where you invest it determines the direction of your life. Many people lose motivation not because they lack ability, but because they share too much of their plans with individuals who do not understand their vision. When dreams are exposed too early, they often attract doubt, jealousy, or discouragement. Not everyone who listens genuinely supports you. Some people unintentionally project their fears onto your ambitions. Protecting your energy means understanding that your goals do not require public approval. Silence allows your ideas to grow without interference, giving you space to nurture confidence before facing the world. Emotional energy is also affected by unnecessary explanations. Constantly defending your choices, justifying your decisions, or trying to make everyone understand you becomes exhausting. The truth is that people will interpret your life through their own experiences, and no amount of explanation will fully change their perspective. Choosing silence does not mean weakness or avoidance. It reflects maturity. It shows that you value peace over proving yourself right. When you stop reacting to every opinion, you reclaim control over your emotional state. Protecting your energy also means being selective about the environments you engage in. Negative conversations, gossip, and arguments quietly consume mental focus. Gossip and arguments quietly consume mental focus. Even when you are not directly involved, exposure to negativity influences your thoughts and mood. By staying silent and distancing yourself from unnecessary drama, you create mental clarity. This clarity allows you to concentrate on self-improvement, spiritual growth, and meaningful goals instead of distractions that add no value to your life. Silence strengthens self-awareness. When you speak less, you listen more, not only to others but also to yourself. You begin noticing your thoughts, habits, and emotional reactions more clearly. This awareness helps you identify what truly benefits you and what drains you. Many breakthroughs happen when individuals step back from constant external noise and reconnect with their inner purpose. In silence, you discover your strengths, weaknesses, and the direction you genuinely want to pursue. Another important aspect of protecting your energy is learning to detach from the need for validation. Modern society often encourages people to display every achievement, struggle, or plan publicly. While sharing can feel rewarding temporarily, dependence on external confidence. When your happiness depends on praise or recognition, your emotional state becomes controlled by others. Silence helps you build self-worth that comes from progress itself rather than applause. Remaining silent about your struggles can also be an act of strength. Not every hardship needs an audience. Some battles are meant to refine character privately, allowing resilience to grow without sympathy or judgment. Working through challenges quietly builds mental toughness because you learn to rely on patience, faith, and persistence rather than external reassurance. This private growth creates a deeper sense of confidence that cannot easily be shaken. Protecting your energy requires discipline. It involves choosing calm responses instead of emotional reactions, focusing on solutions instead of complaints, and investing time in activities that uplift rather than exhaust you. Over time, people notice a shift in your presence. You become calmer, more focused, and less affected by negativity because your energy is no longer scattered across unnecessary conflicts or conversations. When you focus only on yourself and remain silent, you create a powerful boundary between your inner world and external chaos. Your mind becomes a place of strategy instead of stress, reflection instead of reaction, and growth instead of comparison. Silence becomes a shield that protects ambition, faith, and emotional stability while allowing your actions, consistency, and character to speak louder than any explanation ever could. True growth rarely happens in loud environments filled with constant attention and validation. The most powerful transformation takes place quietly, away from public recognition, where effort becomes consistent and intentions remain pure. Many people believe success must be announced, displayed, or celebrated at every stage, but real progress often develops in silence. When you choose to grow without seeking approval, you allow yourself to focus entirely on improvement rather than perception. Silence creates space for deep work without the pressure of others watching or judging your journey. You can experiment, fail, learn, and rebuild without fear. Growth requires mistakes, and mistakes feel heavier when they happen in front of an audience. Working quietly removes that pressure, allowing you to develop skills and strengthen your mindset naturally. Instead of performing progress for others, you begin living progress for others. You begin living progress for yourself. One of the greatest advantages of silent growth is consistency. When people constantly talk about their goals, they sometimes receive temporary satisfaction from praise, which reduces the urgency to actually work toward those goals. Silence removes this illusion of achievement. You wake up each day driven not by compliments but by commitment. Discipline becomes stronger because your motivation comes from within rather than from external encouragement. Silent growth also protects your focus from distraction. Attention attracts opinions, and opinions often create confusion. Everyone has advice, but not all advice aligns with your purpose. When too many voices influence your decisions, your path becomes unclear. Remaining quiet about your plans allows you to move forward with clarity and confidence, guided by your own values and experiences instead of outside noise. Another powerful aspect of growing in silence is emotional resilience. Progress is rarely smooth. It includes setbacks, doubts, and moments of exhaustion. When growth happens privately, you learn to manage these struggles independently. You develop patience and emotional strength because you are not relying on constant reassurance. Each obstacle becomes a personal lesson rather than a public setback, strengthening your ability to continue even when results are not immediately visible. Silence also teaches humility. When achievements are not immediately shared, you learn to appreciate progress for its true meaning rather than for recognition. Humility keeps you grounded and focused on long-term development instead of short-term attention. People who grow quietly often surprise others because their success appears sudden, even though it is the result of years of unseen effort. During silent growth, self-awareness deepens. Without the need to impress anyone, you begin evaluating yourself honestly. You notice habits that hold you back and strengths that deserve improvement. This honest reflection becomes the foundation of meaningful change. Instead of comparing yourself with others, you compete only with the person you were yesterday, making progress more authentic and sustainable. Growing in silence also strengthens faith and inner trust. When results are not publicly visible, you learn to believe in the process without immediate proof. This belief builds patience and perseverance. You continue working even when nobody notices because you understand that transformation takes time. Seeds planted quietly beneath the soil eventually grow into strong trees, even though their development remains invisible for a long period. Another benefit of silent growth is protection from negativity and jealousy. Not everyone celebrates progress sincerely. By keeping your journey private, you avoid unnecessary criticism or discouragement that could weaken your determination. Your energy remains directed toward improvement instead of defending your choices or explaining your vision. As time passes, silent effort begins to produce visible results. Confidence grows naturally because it is built on real achievement rather than words. People may wonder how such change happened unaware of the dedication that occurred behind the scenes. Quiet discipline, steady learning, and focused action gradually transform mindset, character, and capability. Choosing to grow in silence means understanding that transformation is a personal journey, not a performance. It allows you to build strength patiently, improve consistently, and evolve without destruction, while your actions slowly shape a stronger version of yourself, driven by purpose, discipline, and unwavering commitment to becoming better each day. One of the greatest obstacles to personal peace and progress is the habit of comparing your journey with the lives of others. In a world where people constantly display achievements, lifestyles, and moments of success, it becomes easy to feel as though you are falling behind. Comparison quietly steals confidence because it shifts your attention away from your own growth and places it on someone else's path. Focusing only on yourself requires the courage to accept that every individual walks a different timeline shaped by unique experiences, challenges, and purposes. Comparison often begins unconsciously. You see someone achieving success, building wealth, gaining recognition, or reaching milestones that you desire, and suddenly your own progress feels small. What you fail to see is the full story behind their journey. Every visible success hides years of struggle, sacrifice, failure, and patience. When you compare your beginning to someone else's middle or ending, you create unrealistic expectations that lead to frustration rather than motivation. Your life unfolds according to circumstances that belong only to you. Background, opportunities, lessons learned through hardship, and personal responsibilities all influence the pace of growth. Some people achieve certain goals early, while others require more time to develop the strength and wisdom needed for lasting success. Delays do not mean denial, they often represent preparation. When you stop comparing, you begin to appreciate your current stage as part of a meaningful process rather than viewing it as a disadvantage. Constant comparison also damages self-worth. Instead of recognizing progress, you focus on what you lack. Gratitude disappears and dissatisfaction grows. You overlook personal victories because they seem insignificant next to someone else's achievements. Focusing on yourself shifts this mindset. You begin measuring success based on improvement rather than competition. Small steps forward become valuable because they represent genuine growth aligned with your own goals. Social media intensifies comparison by presenting carefully selected highlights of people's lives. Moments of happiness, luxury, or accomplishment are shared widely, while struggles remain hidden. When you compare your everyday reality to someone else's curated image, you develop a distorted perception of success. Protecting your focus means understanding that appearances rarely reflect the complete truth. Real growth happens away from cameras and applause, within daily discipline and private effort. Letting go of comparison frees mental energy. Instead of worrying about where others stand, you invest attention in developing skills, strengthening character, and improving habits. This shift increases productivity because your motivation becomes internal. You no longer chase success to outperform others, you pursue it to fulfill your own potential. Progress becomes meaningful rather than competitive. Another important aspect of avoiding comparison is learning self-acceptance. Each person possesses unique talents and weaknesses. Comparing yourself to others often leads to ignoring your own strengths because they differ from someone else's abilities. When you focus inward, you discover qualities that make your journey valuable. You recognize that authenticity holds more power than imitation. Trying to follow someone else's path may lead you away from opportunities perfectly suited for you. Comparison also creates unnecessary pressure. Feeling behind can push individuals into rush decisions, unhealthy competition, or choices that do not align with their values. Patience disappears, replaced by anxiety and self-doubt. Focusing on yourself restores balance. You begin making decisions based on purpose rather than pressure, allowing growth to occur naturally and sustainably. When attention remains centered on personal development, confidence strengthens gradually. You celebrate effort, learn from mistakes, and acknowledge improvement without needing validation. This mindset builds resilience because setbacks no longer feel like failures compared to others. They become lessons within your own journey. Over time, you develop emotional independence, understanding that fulfillment comes from progress aligned with personal meaning rather than public comparison. Choosing to stop comparing does not mean ignoring inspiration. Choosing to stop comparing does not mean ignoring inspiration. Others can motivate you, but their success should encourage growth instead of diminishing your self-belief. By focusing only on yourself, you cultivate patience, gratitude, and clarity, allowing your unique path to unfold with purpose while your energy remains dedicated to becoming a better version of who you were yesterday rather than competing with anyone else's timeline. Many conflicts in life do not begin because of serious problems, but because of emotional reactions. Words spoken in anger, quick responses to criticism, or the need to prove oneself right often turn small disagreements into lasting tensions. Choosing silence in certain situations becomes a powerful form of wisdom. Silence does not mean weakness or surrender. It reflects emotional intelligence and self-control. When you learn to stay calm instead of reacting immediately, you prevent unnecessary conflict from consuming your energy and peace of mind. Human emotions are naturally sensitive to criticism, misunderstanding, and disagreement. When someone challenges your opinion or speaks negatively, the instinctive response is to defend yourself. This reaction may feel justified, but it often escalates situations rather than resolving them. Arguments rarely change hearts because people speak from ego rather than understanding. Silence interrupts this cycle by refusing. To react impulsively, you allow emotions to settle and prevent conversations from turning into confrontations. Remaining silent also gives you time to think clearly. Emotional responses are usually temporary, while spoken words can have lasting consequences. Many people regret things they said during moments of anger or frustration. Silence creates a pause between feeling and action, allowing wisdom to guide your response. In that pause, you can evaluate whether the situation truly deserves your attention or whether walking away preserves your dignity and peace. Not every opinion requires a reply. People will misunderstand you, judge you, or disagree with your choices, and trying to correct every misunderstanding becomes exhausting. Some individuals are committed to their perspectives regardless of explanation. Engaging in endless debates drains emotional energy without producing meaningful outcomes. Silence allows you to recognize which battles are worth fighting and which ones only distract you from personal growth. Silence also protects relationships. Many conflicts grow larger because both sides feel unheard. When one person chooses calmness instead of reaction, tension decreases naturally. Listening without immediate interruption demonstrates maturity and respect, even during disagreement. Often people calm down when they feel heard, making resolution easier. Silence becomes a tool that encourages understanding rather than competition over who is right. Another benefit of silence is emotional mastery. When you control your reactions, you develop inner strength. Instead of allowing external situations to dictate your mood, you maintain stability regardless of circumstances. Emotional discipline strengthens confidence because you no longer depend on winning arguments or gaining approval to feel secure. You begin responding intentionally rather than reacting automatically. Choosing silence also prevents unnecessary drama. Gossip, criticism, and negative discussions often invite participation, pulling individuals into conflicts that do not concern them. Remaining silent removes you from these cycles. People eventually recognize that you do not engage in negativity and they stop involving you in unnecessary disputes. Your presence becomes associated with calmness rather than chaos. Silence can also communicate strength more effectively than words. When you refuse to respond to provocation, you demonstrate self-respect. Others may expect confrontation, but calm restraint shows emotional maturity. Over time, people learn that your peace cannot easily be disturbed. This quiet confidence earns respect because it reflects control over oneself rather than control over others. Avoiding unnecessary conflict does not mean suppressing important feelings or avoiding meaningful conversations. There are moments when communication is necessary for clarity and resolution. However, silence teaches discernment, the ability to recognize when speaking adds value and when it only fuels negativity. Wisdom lies in understanding the difference between constructive dialogue and pointless argument. When silence becomes a conscious choice, life feels lighter. Mental energy remains focused on goals, personal improvement, and meaningful relationships instead of emotional battles that offer no benefit. You begin to realize that peace is not achieved by winning every argument, but by choosing which situations deserve your voice and which ones are better left unanswered, while your calmness protects your inner stability and allows you to move forward without carrying the weight of unnecessary conflict in life. Words are easy to speak, promises are easy to make, and intentions are easy to announce, but true respect is earned through consistent actio. Many people talk about their goals, dreams, and plans repeatedly, believing that speaking about success brings them closer to achieving it. However, lasting impact is created not by what is said, but by what is done. When you focus on yourself and remain silent, you allow your actions to become your strongest form of communication. Talking excessively about plans often creates an illusion of progress. Sharing ambitions can feel satisfying because it brings encouragement and praise from others. Yet this temporary validation sometimes replaces real effort. The mind begins to associate talking with achievement, reducing the urgency to take disciplined action. Silence removes this false reward system. Without announcing every intention, we become more focused on execution rather than attention. Actions carry credibility because they demonstrate commitment. Anyone can express motivation, but consistent effort requires discipline, patience, and sacrifice. When you work quietly, people observe results instead of hearing promises. Over time, silent dedication builds trust because others recognize that your progress comes from genuine effort rather than empty words. Respect naturally follows individuals whose behavior reflects reliability and perseverance. Remaining silent about your work also protects your focus. When too many people know your plans, opinions, and expectations begin to influence your decisions. Some may doubt your abilities, while others may place pressure on you to succeed quickly. These external voices can create anxiety or self-doubt. By keeping your goals private, you create a personal space where growth happens naturally, free from unnecessary judgment or distraction. Letting actions speak louder than words also strengthens self-discipline. Discipline develops when effort becomes a daily habit rather than a performance for others. You wake up motivated not to impress anyone but to improve yourself. Progress becomes internal and meaningful because it is driven by personal standards instead of external approval. Each completed task builds confidence quietly, reinforcing belief in your ability to achieve long-term goals. Another important benefit of silent action is humility. When achievements are not constantly announced, success feels more grounded and authentic, and humility allows you to continue learning because you remain focused on improvement rather than recognition. People who rely on words often feel pressured to maintain an image, while those who rely on actions remain flexible, open to growth, and willing to evolve. Silent effort also reduces unnecessary competition. When you stop broadcasting your goals, you shift attention away from comparison and rivalry. Your journey becomes personal rather than competitive. Instead of measuring success against others, you evaluate progress based on your own development. This mindset creates healthier motivation and reduces stress caused by external expectations. Consistency is the foundation of meaningful action. Small efforts repeated daily eventually produce significant results. These gradual improvements may go unnoticed at first, but over time they create undeniable transformation. When results finally appear, they speak with authority because they are supported by sustained effort. People may describe such success as sudden, unaware of the silent work that occurred behind the scenes. Actions also communicate authenticity. Words can be misunderstood or doubted, but consistent behavior reveals true character. The way you handle challenges, maintain discipline, and continue working despite difficulties becomes a powerful message without the need for explanation. Silent perseverance shows strength, resilience, and dedication more clearly than any speech or a noun. Cement ever could. Choosing action over excessive speech brings clarity to life. Energy that might have been spent explaining intentions is redirected toward learning, practicing, and improving. You become less concerned with appearing successful and more committed to becoming successful. Over time, your achievements begin to represent your voice. Your consistency becomes your reputation. Your consistency becomes your reputation, and your silent determination demonstrates a level of commitment that words alone could never fully express. Focusing on yourself creates a powerful shift in the way you experience life because your attention moves away from external distractions and turns inward toward personal development. When you stop seeking constant approval, comparison, or validation from others, you begin strengthening your inner world. This inward focus builds emotional independence, allowing you to remain stable regardless of changing circumstances or opinions around you. Inner strength is not formed through comfort, but through self-awareness, discipline, and intentional growth. Many people rely heavily on external factors for happiness. Praise, recognition, acceptance, or social approval often determine how confident they feel. When these external sources disappear, insecurity and doubt quickly appear. Self-focus changes this dynamic by teaching you to develop confidence from within. Instead of depending on others to define your worth, you begin recognizing your value through effort, character, and personal progress. This internal foundation becomes stronger because it cannot easily be shaken by criticism or rejection. Silence plays an important role in building inner strength because it creates space for reflection. When life becomes quiet, you start hearing your own thoughts clearly. You notice patterns in your behavior, emotional triggers, and habits that influence your decisions. This awareness allows you to take responsibility for your growth instead of blaming circumstances or people. Self-reflection leads to self-correction, and self-correction leads to continuous improvement. Focusing inward also strengthens emotional control. Life presents challenges, disappointments, and unexpected difficulties, but inner strength determines how you respond to them. When your attention is centered on self-development, you learn patience and resilience. Instead of reacting impulsively, you respond thoughtfully. Problems become opportunities to grow stronger rather than reasons to feel defeated. Emotional independence means that temporary setbacks do not define your identity or destroy your confidence. Self-focus encourages discipline, which is essential for long-term success. Discipline requires consistent effort, even when motivation fades. By concentrating on personal habits, routines, and goals, you develop the ability to continue working regardless of mood or external circumstances. Each disciplined action reinforces self-trust. You begin believing in yourself because you repeatedly prove that you can follow through on commitments made to yourself. Another aspect of inner strength is learning to enjoy solitude. Many individuals fear being alone because silence forces them to confront their thoughts. However, solitude becomes powerful when viewed as an opportunity for growth rather than loneliness. Time spent alone allows creativity, clarity, and spiritual awareness to deepen. You reconnect with your purpose and align your actions with values that truly matter to you. Solitude becomes a source of renewal rather than isolation. Focusing on yourself also helps you set healthy boundaries. Inner strength grows when you learn to say no to situations, environments, or relationships that drain your energy. Boundaries protect emotional well-being and prevent burnout. Instead of trying to please everyone, you prioritize what supports your mental and spiritual health. This shift does not make you selfish, it makes you self-aware and responsible for your own peace. As inner strength develops, confidence becomes quiet and steady. You no longer feel the need to prove yourself constantly or seek attention for validation. Your calm presence reflects certainty and self-respect. Challenges are faced with composure because your stability comes from within rather than from external approval. You become less affected by criticism and less dependent on praise because your sense of identity is rooted in personal growth. Over time, focusing on yourself transforms not only your mindset, but also your actions and relationships. You interact with others from a place of strength rather than insecurity. Decisions become clearer because they align with personal values instead of social pressure. Growth becomes intentional, patience becomes natural, and emotional balance becomes a defining characteristic, while your attention remains dedicated to strengthening your mind, refining your characteristic, and nurturing a deep sense of confidence that continues to grow through consistent self-awareness and disciplined self-focus.